Hello, and welcome to the 18th episode of the Media Magpie podcast. Now, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to address the elephant in the room, as people would say. Yes, it has been a while since I've done the podcast, and yes, it was not announced why I stopped doing it. I think I mentioned it in my Instagram, if anyone follows me there. But some personal shit happened in my life. And you know what? I'm going to say it. I wasn't expecting to say in this episode, but my mum passed away. And kicking the nuts. This is a very bold way to start this episode, I will say. But it happened. And yeah, it's been tough. Tough couple months. And it happened in Feb. Anyway, look, that's a really hard way to bring this episode in. But that's been my life. And I thought, look, I love this podcast, and I will say one of the reasons why I started this podcast is because of her. So I think at the end of the day, she would want me to keep going and keep doing it and keep doing something that I'm passionate about, because I'm passionate about this podcast. I don't do it for the views. I don't do it for any money or anything. I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about the things I want to talk about. And hey, at the end of the day, I was like, who cares if anyone watches this shit? Honestly, I know that I've spoke my truth, or I speak my piece, and that's something that this podcast allowed me to do, is speak freely and in a safe space for me, and I just feel comfortable, talking on this platform. Yeah, so, but without further ado, let's get into the episode. And this episode, well, this is a game that I've loved for a long ass time. And it was introduced as the third entry into the series. And it was released in 2014, and it was a PS4 exclusive, actually. And it was one of the very first games to be on PS4. So with that, it utilized a lot of the technology that the PS4 did with the trackpad and the rumble of the controller. Very good, very good. But this episode is going to be on inFamous Second Son. Now, I looked at it, and I was actually playing it a little bit before, so I still play this game. Like, 2014, definitely, it's been a lot, 10 years or 12 years, and I still play this game. I love it. I got a PS5 now, so I played on that instead of PS4, because my PS4, sounds like a jet engine. So definitely play it on PS5 now, and it runs so much smoother. Holy shit. I'll even look at it now, and I remember seeing how it was. And look, back then, I was happy with how it was running. It was fine to me. There was no stress. There was no doubt about it. It was fine. But definitely with the 60 frames a second now, I believe, it looks so good. Holy shit. It never, really needed to be fast moving. I love the game for its story and its characters and everything. But coming back to it and playing it again on new hardware is always nice. It's nice. But 126 hours I have in the game. 126. It's definitely a game that I go back to. 100%ed. Go to the achievements. Did that on the PS4. And I love the game to bits. I've probably played the story like 3 or 4 times now. And currently still playing it on the PS5. Just replaying it. And I mean, that's the thing. I don't need to play the story through and through. I love just running around, dashing around with the smoke powers and doing all that stuff. But let's actually get into the game. So yeah, as I said, today I'm going to be diving into the game, which lets you run wild, and it asks whether you be, it's sort of an interesting game where it's like you have choices. It's not the big. I wouldn't say it's a full multi-choice game, but you have choices whether you want to be a hero or just having fun, being a menace and just being a whole bioterrorist to society. Because that's what they get labeled in the game, bioterrorists. Not conduits, if people know, the whole inFamous and inFamous 1, that's what they're called, conduits. No, they're, in this game, according to the world, bioterrorists. Anyway, so this game is developed by Sucker Punch Games. Now, some people might actually know Sucker Punch because of Ghost of Tsushima, which is another game I'm replaying as well on PS5, which is a fucking great game. I haven't completed it. I will admit I have started it again and also taken a break from it, but I need to go back to it and play into it. But it is also another very good game, which is a different wow, a whole different vibe from this game to that game. But you also might know them from Sly Cooper. They were very known for Sly Cooper series, which they made quite a few of those games. I got some history of Sly Cooper being my brother. Well, making some interesting choices of throwing his controller into the TV. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that, but might have to ask him if I can add this in the episode. Anyway, I digress. But Second Son was designed to take advantage of the new hardware. As I said, for the new hardware, the PS4, it was made truly to take advantage of it. The lighting, particle effects, all of that stuff. And especially the rump. Like, I felt like there was an interesting thing about the controllers of the PS4 is the rumble. There was a lot of, you could feel the motion rumble in the controller, and as well the trackpad. That was new for PlayStation technology. There wasn't a trackpad on any of the consoles until PS4. Now on PS5, trackpad's a thing, and that's been a thing for, 12 years, since when, pretty much, I think, or 12 to 13 years or whatever, since PlayStation 4 came out. I don't know the exact facts, but yeah. So it was very new, and there was a lot of things like when you're scanning, you're doing the finger scan of checking if you're a buyer test when you go for the DUP checkouts. It actually made you put your finger on the trackpad and move it to the scanner. It was very good. Like, it was definitely using a lot of the technology of the PS4, and that's why it stood out. It stood out because it was one of the first games to truly show off the PS4's capabilities. As again, it was a launch game. I think it pretty much launched with the PS4. So, and it was kind of sad that not a lot of games did show that PS4 capability after the fact. I feel like there was a few that showed it, but then afterwards there wasn't really much. There was a couple that did, not a lot off the top of my head that I can remember, but still pretty cool. And it was heavily use of motion capture and realistic facial animations, which I feel like most games now these days use a lot of motion capture and all that, so that's great. It looks stunning. You can tell the animation was amazing, and the movements of the mouth and the dialogue is amazing. And, it was set in Seattle, which, was recreated, and it really just felt alive. The city just felt alive with the people, and, you're running around, dashing through this, city, Seattle, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. And I full-heartedly recommend that people play it. It may be a 13-year-old game or 12-year-old game, but I think, in my opinion, and maybe I'm a bit biased because I am close to it, but it still holds up. I feel like it still holds up. Even on current technology, again, it's a bit boosted on the PS4 because PS5, sorry. Something the PS5 does is that it has game boost, so it boosts the performance of it, not the graphics of it, but it boosts the performance. I looked into it. There is no PS5 version of inFamous Second Son, which is shit. I wish there was. I would pay for it. But no, there isn't. Which, speaking of, and you know what? Let's get into it. And I'm doing this for a reason. Sorry, holy shit. Oh, god damn it! Something got stuck. I've just realised something, and I completely forgot. I should have brought this out for the episode, but one of the main voice actors for this game, so the main character in this game is Delson Rowe, which is voiced by none other than one of my, if not my favourite actor of all time, Troy Baker. And I'll tell this story because it's the perfect story to tell it. But I remember back in 2023, when there was the first time that South by Southwest came to Sydney. And I was at Fortress, which is a gaming bar, fucking expensive food, expensive drinks, of course, because it's in the city, but expensive food. Anyway, that's not the part of the story I'm trying to talk about. But basically, I rock up, and yeah, he was doing a talk. He did a talk. There was not a talk. There was a concert of his the day before, or sort of like kind of like a concert thing. There was there was a game that he was in called Stray Gods, where he played Apollo, which is a god, because it was based on gods, hence the name Stray Gods. Anyway, besides the point, the game was developed by an Australian company, or Australian studio. So because of that, when South by Southwest came to Australia, the team behind that and Troy Bacon being a part of it took the opportunity to come to Sydney, Australia for South by Southwest. So they did that, and he was at that, and that was an amazing night. I got that on my phone somewhere of that, on my Instagram, on my personal Instagram, of watching him play and sing, and it was amazing. And then the next day in the morning, like, or morning, afternoon, he did like a little talk where he was answering people's questions, talking about his personal career, all that stuff. Anyway, I was not sure if this was going to happen, but I decided to bring my copy of inFamous Second Son on PS4. This is my original copy, which I don't play with anymore. I don't play on my PS5 with this copy, and I'll explain why. I bought it digitally again because I don't want to play on this copy for a reason. So, I brought this copy with me to the morning and to the talk, and I'm waiting, and the talk is finished, and it was so exciting. I was the last person to. Oh, that's another thing. I'm sitting down. I'm waiting for him to. I'm sitting in the I think first row. I decide to not sit on the edge seat, but sit on the second seat next to the edge seat. I'm sitting there. I'm waiting. Waiting for him to turn up, and then as I'm like sitting there, as I'm waiting, someone sits next to me. Right? Someone's like sitting next to me, and I feel his presence. I'm like, oh shit, who's sitting next to me? And look, I will admit, I'm not the most confident person. I was a bit nervous. And then I sort of slowly turn and look to my right. And I slowly turn, and lo and behold, fucking I shit you not, it's Troy Baker sitting to my right. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey. And I'm like, and I turn, I'm like, holy fucking shit, Troy Baker sitting next to me, holy fucking shit. And my brain's freaking out. I'm frozen. I'm like frozen. I'm stuck. And I'm like, fuck, I should ask him to sign. I could get a photo, whatever. And then he walks up on the stage because I'm frozen. And he goes, well, that was an interesting experiment with his mic. I'm like, fuck. And I thought I lost my chance. I was like, no way. Did I just ruin a chance to get a photo and whatnot? Anyway, so then the talk finishes after that. And I got to ask the last question, which was cool. Talk finishes. And I'm waiting at the front just because I'm curious of if he'll leave out the front. I'm like, is there a back entrance? Maybe there is, whatever. Anyway. So then he walks out the front. He's going down the escalator, and I'm like, "Shit, this is my chance." And I go, "Hey, Troy," as he's about to leave the building that Fortress is in, and he goes, "Yeah, what's up?" And I go, like, "Hey, man, can you sign my game?" And I'm fucking shaking at this point. I'm fucking shaking because I was so nervous to do it. I was like, "Yeah, man, open it up." So I open it up, and he signs, and this is the South by Southwest 2023. There you go. This is the band that I got as well. South by Southwest, you can see there. 2023 Sydney. So that's really cool. There you go. You can sort of, that's better. So I've kept that because that was what I was wearing to get into the events and everything. And then he's like, yeah, open it up, man. Open it up. And I'll just put it back in because it closed on. And then there it is. Look, there's his signature right there on the disc. How fucking beautiful. So it is a memory of mine to say that I've met one of my favorite actors of all time, Troy Baker. And also, not only did I meet him, I also got a photo with him as well. And I shit you not, as I got the photo, I walked out because there was another venue he did where he played with a band and he also sang because he's very musically talented. And I took the photo and I walked out and literally, I shit you not, my phone died. It was the perfect day. Like, I talked with him, got my game signed, got a photo, my phone died, that was it. And it was like, I wasn't on my phone looking at social media, nothing. I just got that photo and that was it. And I was going on the bus. No, sorry. I was going on the train on the way home and I was like, holy shit. What a day. Man. And look, I was also doing TAFE at the time. I may have skipped a couple classes, the afternoon classes, just to go see him. But look, I caught up and I was pretty up to date. So it was fucking worth it. You know, I saw Troy Baker. I would skip anything to see him again. But that being said, it's a very special moment of mine, and this game means a lot to me. Like, I could have brought The Last of Us, which I love, which is my favorite game of all time, which is also in, and I've talked about on this podcast before, probably one of my longest standing episodes. If you haven't seen that, sure, give it a watch if you want. But this game as well is important to me, and I felt, fuck it, everyone gets inFamous Last of Us signed, right? That's a game that people would get signed, and he'd probably see. I like inFamous too. inFamous Second Son, sorry. And I was like, fuck, I want to get him to sign this. I think this is a game that is underrated, in my opinion. But, so that's my personal story on that. Let's get back into the actual game itself. But, so cool, so cool. But yeah, in the game you play as Delson Rowe. So that's, my main man, Troy. He's a young graffiti artist and a member of the Comish tribe, which is it's the tribe in Seattle that his family are Comish. He discovers that he is a conduit, or a bioterrorist, basically a superpowered individual. He discovers this because he absorbs the powers from an escaped prisoner, which we find out is, I forgot his name off the top of my head. Anyway, it's not in my notes, but yeah. But the government agency, the DUP, hunts conduits, or bioterrorists as they call them, and enforces strict control. And Delson sets out to gain new powers and confront the DUP leader, Brooke Augustine. So basically, Delson, he's set on this path where, well, the Comish kind of get hurt a bit during the initial, because I don't want to spoil too much about this game, but basically, crash happens. He tries to help the guy, the escaped, conduit, aka bioterrorist as they get called, and he sucks up his powers and he gets smoke, and his whole life's changed forever. And then he goes on this whole, this whole journey of getting new powers and getting stronger enough to, go to toe with Augustine, and well, basically hunt her down for what she's done to the Comish, his tribe. And another thing that's interesting about Delson's road journey is that it's shaped by the player's moral decisions. So in the game, you have two paths you can choose. You can either choose the path of the good or the path of bad. And it's all up to the player to choose whether or not they want to do the good path or the bad path. And also at the end of the day, you can mix it up. I mean, it also still gives you the option to choose the bad option when you're going on the good path. But then that lowers the morale of the good. Most of the time, if I'm playing the game, I pick one side. I go like, I'm going to either be good or I'm going to be bad. But look, at the end of the day, you can pick and choose. You can realistically, I guess, be good. And then, for example, well, without saying too much, but there is, when you pick the bad side with fetch and you're bad with fetch, let's just say there might be a bit of a sexual scene in there's a bit of a relationship there that happens. Just to say. So some people might be more compelled to pick the bad side when it comes to fetch, which is also voiced by a lovely actress who's also in The Last of Us Part 2 list, and in a lot of games of Troy, Laura Bailey. Very good voice actor as well. But basically, the ending is shifted drastically by your karma, as it's called, which is the good and the bad, your karma choices, your karma path. So, and which was very different, I felt, it was same with the first games. The first games had you either go good or bad. But at the end of the day, I felt like for the first two games, the endings, they did hit, but not as well, I feel, for me. This one really hit you in the balls, I felt like, if you went bad. I won't spoil too much of what happens. I know I am talking about it, but I also kind of don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to play the game. Then again, I can spoil it. It's a fucking 13, 12-year-old game. What am I talking about? Basically, he blows up the Comish tribe at the end of the game, just to say it. So look, your choices really matter in this game, in a sense. And also, even the citizens in the city, when you're roaming around, cheer you on if you're good, or hate you if you're bad. So there's definitely impacts when it comes to not just you and what your actions do, but the environment around you. And again, you instead of killing the DUP, you stun them and all that. And look, here and there, I actually do kill people when I've been good. I've been playing my recent run, made some kills, and it says red. But look, Anyway, so the main character, Delson Rowe, so he's voiced by Troy Baker. Then his brother, who's also a crucial part of this game, and sadly at the end does end up, passing away, and it sort of dies because of a risk that he, as much as Reggie, is his name, is Delson's brother. Reggie is not a fan of Delson having these powers, and even says they're an affliction, not a gift, an affliction. And he's always telling him that no, he shouldn't have it. And there's even a point in the game where he gets video powers and can't use any of his other powers. And he's like, this is good. This is a cure. we should just go. And he's like, no, man, help me out, do this. And he helps him out. And in some ways, because he helps him out, it kind of leads to his own demise. And he does die at the hands of Augustine, I believe. And it's kind of sucks. But Reggie is voiced by Travis Willingham, which also is, well, I don't know if at the time, but Travis Willingham is married to Fetch, Laura Bailey. So it's interesting. There's a lot of connections in this game of the characters. But yeah, and the Brooke Orstein voiced by Christina Dunford, which is the main antagonist, as I've said and mentioned, of the DUP, and she uses concrete powers, and honestly, fucking hell, like, she really plays the performance of a cold, authoritative, laid down bitch in this game. I'll use that word, bitch, because she's a stone cold bitch in this game. Like, holy shit, I did not like Augustine. And rightly so, because she is a hard ass. She wants to see control, and at the end of the game, you realize that she also wanted the conduits to escape. She wanted them to escape because it was actually at the start of the game, the conduits were getting transferred because the DUP was going to get shut down, and there was like, well, good job, you've caught them all. The government doesn't need you anymore. There's no need for you, Augustine, and your private militia of police. We're going to shut you down. So the transfer happens, and she lets him out. She basically knew that they would escape, and then, because now they've escaped, the DUP basically takes over and controls all of Seattle, and they're needed again. They're needed because these conduits are free. So it was all planned, and you find it at the end of the day, and you're like, well, you're a stone cold bitch. That's it. And then that's it. You take, whether you're good or bad. I don't know if you kill her if you're bad. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've played fully again. But, yeah, and then you get her powers. And honestly, the concrete powers aren't even that good, in my opinion. I think once you get them, it's like, I used them the least. The story's done by the time you get them, which is what it is. But I didn't like the concrete powers. It's the least, for me, it's the least favorite of my powers, honestly. Most of the time, I'm still a fan of, to be honest, Delson for me, smoke. And he starts with smoke, and I think the game brilliantly starts with smoke. Of you in the learning curve, you zoom through the vents, you come up, and I don't know. Something that speaks to me with the one, it kind of fits Delson for me. His smoke powers. He is the smoker, or smoke, or the banner man, as they call him early in the game, because he fucking graffitis, which is another cool thing in the game that. And I wish I had my controller with me. I should have brought that out as a show. But basically, it does as I going back to utilizing the PS4 controls and like the haptics, is that you hold the controller as a graffiti can. You shake it, and then you hold the trigger, and you're spraying like you're graffitiing it, and it like knows the motion of where you're spraying it. And then you can, and I used to do it all the time, and that's a weird action to do, by the way. I will admit, I'm jerking off the air. But you would shake it, and it would make the sound of a rattling, like the rattle of the paint can. And it was so cool. It just utilized the technology for the PS4 very, very fucking well. And I'm so grateful for it. It's one of my favorite games. I go back to it all the time, and I still play it, as much as how old it is. Hank, that's the main. So the main sort of smoke conduit, which is the first conduit Delson encounters, is Hank Daughtry. Which, look, he's he's definitely a rough sort of guy, and he's got hints of a complicated past. Even before he had powers, that you sort of see something that happens when Delson sponges the power off the conduit, is he sees into their past. And Hank had a bad past, especially he was been in jails all his life before he got the powers. But once he got the powers, then he was unstoppable, robbing banks and everything. But then the DUP comes in and fucking puts his ass in Curtain K, which is the superpower prison for conduits, or bioterrorist, as it's called. So very interesting. Anyway, so let me get into more. That's more of the story. That's all the stuff. Let's get into the gameplay sort of breakdown. So in the gameplay, you have four set of powers you can get in the game. You can get smoke, which again, one of my favorite powers. I always love smoke when I play the game. You get neon, which neon is sort of fast, precision shooting, stylish visuals. It looks cool. And something you get as well when you're good is you get unlimited neon running. So there actually is perks to choosing good karma or bad karma. You get different powers and upgrades based on what karma you pick. And one of the karma picks for good for neon is unlimited running. So you can just zoom around as a neon, speedster pretty much. And you get neon from fetch. Fetch is the one that has neon. And then you've got video, which video actually currently, as I'm talking about this game now, I just stopped playing it. I'm about up to the point when you meet Eugene, who has the neon powers. Neon powers, sorry, video powers. And I'll go back on the characters as well quickly. Eugene, he's a bit of a socially awkward gamer type guy. He sort of gets bullied at school, and then his powers sort of erupt, and he has these fucking angels that, protect him. And that's where this power kicks in. He gets enrages. He's playing on his laptop, something breaks in him, and he gets the powers. And it's crazy shit. And probably I'd say video, I guess for me as well, I'm a gamer. I love playing video games. The video power for me is probably my second favorite. So close to neon. Neon is third, but so close. There's sort of a tie. I think it's hard. Sometimes I feel like I like neon. Sometimes I like video. Smoke at the end of the day is my top favorite, but video and neon are still very close. And then last but not least is concrete, which is like a late game tank-like power. And again, as I said, it's late game. I don't know. Once you've got it, there's no real use for it. You're sort of mucking around with it. And I don't know. I just never liked it. Maybe because it was late game and there was no point of, well, you got the power now. Cool. What am I going to use it for? There's no story-wise that I use it for, realistically. The game's done once you get it because you defeat Augustine. But it's still cool. But I think the interesting thing about each power is that the traversal and the combat is different with each power, which kind of feels like you kind of maybe, in a way, as much as it's the same character, doesn't row. Because you have those different powers, it does make you feel you're playing a whole completely different character because of the skill sets based on these powers. But I think for me, Smoke's the best because it's zooming, you could basically dash through or smoke dash through a vent and then fly out of it, and you can smoke dash everywhere, and then you got your smoke fucking missiles and all that, and it's fucking cool as shit. Holy shit. And I think one of the biggest strengths of this game for me is the traversal. It is so good. And that's one thing, every power has a different traversal. For Smoke it's dashing, for Neon it's sort of just running like a speedster with the neon powers behind you. With Video, it's you're doing a dash with angel wings, or I guess devil wings if you'll go bad karma. So good karma or bad karma really plays into effect on all the powers, really, except concrete, I think. But it really plays into effect of, well, I believe the Smoke's a bit darker. Neon is definitely more red than blue because it really plays into color. And then again, as well, you either get blue wings or you get red wings depending on the karma. But all the different traversal stuff, all the different traversal for the flowers is different. And for the combat, it's very fast, it's flashy, and it is built around, the crowd control of Seattle. Managing all the, enemies around you. And something I like to do, at least with Smoke, chuck a smoke bomb, in a sense, or a smoke mist. And when you smoke mist people, it also just makes smoke in their face, and then you can subdue them, or you can hurt them, depending what karma you choose, and it's great. It's really good. But yeah, so, realistically, as well, I feel like the world of Seattle in this game is a character in itself, It's a semi-open world version of Seattle. There's rainy atmosphere, neon lights, checkpoints that create, sort of surveillance, which you destroy their checkpoints and, claim the city back. You claim the city of Seattle back because the DUP has claimed it. It's under lockdown. But then here you are as this powerful conduit who basically, still learning the skills early days, but gets more and more upgrades and more powers as he goes along. But basically claiming back the city of Seattle. Whether you be good karma or bad karma, you're claiming it back. And I think, another thing of something is, it kind of reminds me of sort of post and it's I guess a subject to bring up, post 9/11 sort of security type culture, because it's very heavy security once that shit happened, and especially now these days in airports, the security is tough. It's, that event definitely changed the way that security is today at any event really, but especially in regards to airports. Sorry, but that sort of gives you a bit of vibe of that. Looking back on it now, not so much when I played it, but now looking back, it does. And again, as I said, going back to what conduits were seen as, they were seen as bioterrorists, which then that word brings already like fear, prejudice, and also just really, basically already brings that negativity to these powered people in this world with the word bioterrorist, because it has the word terrorist in it. So it really definitely changed the atmosphere of how they're perceived in this video game. But no. And the thing is, yeah, it's an amazing game. Like, I could go on and on and on. But I will admit, for Delson's character, he really has a sense of his own identity. And you see that at the start of the game, he's a graffiti artist. Delson loves graffiti. And again, with any sort of art, it's his way of self-expression. He expresses himself in art. And even when... That's another cool thing, actually. Karma comes into play. Your karma choices comes into play with your art style. You have actually, when you go up to an art spot, because there's art spots all around Seattle City where you spray and you're actually, spraying the art on the walls or wherever you're spraying it. And you have two choices. You have the good karma version of that art or the bad karma version of the art. So even the karma plays into how Delson, expresses himself, which I think is beautiful. It's like, man, they really just put in a lot of attention and detail, in my opinion, in this game. I don't see anything wrong in this game. Like, I can't say anything negative about it from the top of my head. I want to be a, perfect judge, or not perfect judge, but I want to be a, constructive criticism on type of things. When I hate something, I hate it and I'll mention it. But as constructive criticism goes, I can't say anything negative about this game. I love it. It's a great game. So I can't think of anything negative other than the concrete powers. I think late game concrete powers, they're useless. They're useless. Like, I don't like them. And I just, look, it's a tank-like thing, but you don't get to use them. You do after the game ends. Like, there's an end, it's the ending of the game. There's no real missions, and it's like, okay, well, I can just use this with DUP that's left, or like, let's say I don't capture all the stuff or reclaim City of Seattle. Yeah, sure, I could use it around there. But I don't know, I've built the sort of world around, I built the people that you get, again, Neon and Video from, you make connections with. You get to know Fetch. You get to know Eugene. And I feel like that really makes those powers more, not just like, oh, okay, I've drained your powers, it's mine now. It's like, I've drained your powers, but I'm also trying to help you, or maybe even turn you bad. Because another thing is, once you get their powers, you have that choice where you want to either redeem them or corrupt them. And that's depending on the path that you choose, good or bad karma. So it really plays into all that. And I think there's no real redeeming, there's no real redeeming Augustine. You're there to defeat her. You're not going to redeem her, if I remember correctly. And again, I don't know. Didn't feel it, didn't vibe with the concrete power for me. It wasn't my favorite. And again, I guess that begs the question. I've been heavily talking about the sense of good karma, bad karma. And I guess this game puts in perspective, if you had powers, what type of person would you be? Would you still be the same person you are? Or would it change you completely? And I guess it sort of begs the question of, if you have the power to overpower people, would you take the opportunity to seize control? Or use it for the likes of good and, stick to the shadows or whatever and just be the helpful person that you could be? So it all depends on the person who has these powers, and I think it really just, it's an interesting, game, and I love it. But that's enough of the gameplay. I think let's get into the sort of visuals of it. So graphics-wise, it's amazing, and I think, the art direction is great. There's the strong contrast between DUP's harsh concrete aesthetic and Delson's colourful graffiti and his neon, well, not his neon, so his smoke and they're there to seize control, but he's there just to have fun and he does some witty jokes and all that, and it's great. And again, the voice acting from Troy Baker really sells this character, and I think he does an amazing job as Delson Rowe. And it's sort of it's a very good sort of I don't know. It's definitely I think the art style for this game is very somewhat semi-realistic, and it holds up. I think it still holds up to this day, no matter how many games have come out and how old this game is. And the soundtrack's sort of a bit of, rock, electronic, and sort of, reinforces the rebellious youth vibe that Delson gives. And I think that's another thing. He's always been rebellious, but now he's got these powers. He's even more rebellious. He's sort of... Think of Delson as someone like, saying, F you to the system. Fuck you, system. And DUP, they're the system. They're the system that wants to control the people. As they have, at the start of the game, they do control the people. And Delson's like, I have the abilities to take away and destroy what the DUP have control of, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. No matter how good or bad I am, depending on your choices, I'm going to do it. And it's fucking great. I think it's so good. And look, it does have, I think, a shorter, if I remember correctly, it does have a shorter game compared to 1 and 2. And I think that's a criticism I could add to the point of the game is shorter. But look, there's so much replayability, I feel, in my opinion, and it's semi-open world. So realistically, look, some people might take criticism of it's a shorter game, but it's still an amazing story, and I think for me it works well. I don't care that it was shorter. But I know that many fans love Delson's personality and the freedom of powers. And, it's probably not as much as a darker tone as Cole. So Cole McGrath, he's the character you play in the first 2 games, in inFamous 1 and 2. And oh my god, as much as I love inFamous Second Son, I love inFamous 1. Actually, more talkingly, I love inFamous 2. inFamous 2 was the first inFamous game I played, and I played that back on the PS3. And inFamous, I wish, if any game could get remade, I wish inFamous 2 got remade. Holy shit. That would be a fun game to play. Remastered. So I would love that. But, I think, going back to what I said, this game really, early on, helped define PS4's identity and really utilized the technology that PS4 brought to the table with its console. So I think that was amazing, and that's so cool. And it's sort of, I feel like it's still remembered for its stylish, powers and its fluid movements, because it's very fluid. I feel like, I can dash across roofs with ease, and I'm gliding along, and it's smooth. It feels so fun, especially with the updated boost of the PS5 game boost, which makes it 60 FPS instead of 30, which would have been on PS4. So it's very smooth and feels nice, and it's great. And there was, after the fact, and this is the last inFamous game they've made, and I hope, to God, please, bring back inFamous, even if it's a remake. And that's the thing, if it's a remake of inFamous 1 and 2, I'm happy. Bring back inFamous. It's a fucking great, amazing series. They've only made 3. Well, that being said, they've also made a standalone expansion, spin-off. Well, yeah, standalone expansion of First Light, which focused on Fetch's story and more into detail on Fetch, which was amazing. And I played that too. That's a good, fun game. Again, you only have the neon powers because she's not what would be, as like Delson, a conduit sponge. But it's still cool. You get more into... And again, Fetch has her own unique style when it comes to Neon, and she's more professional when it comes to Neon. That's her power. She's skilled at it. But honestly, I think inFamous needs a comeback. It's been dormant since 2014. So 2014, that's when the game came out. So it needs to come back, I feel. And I feel like for me, a PS5 sequel would be great. I feel like if Sucker Punch can bring back inFamous or even remaster it, I would be happy. I would be truly, truly happy. But I wonder what you guys think, I think I always like to ask people questions. I would say, leave in the comments. What do you think? Do you think inFamous should come back? If you're a fan of inFamous, let me know. I'd love to hear in the comments. And that'd be great. And I think, it was such a fun game. And it was really just... I don't know. The impact for me, it still resonates on how, fun it was, and just, I don't know. I just love it. And again, I'm biased a bit, maybe. I grew up with it, PS4, and also I love the voice actor Troy Baker. So I'm biased on that part. I can admit that I have some personal bias, but hey, everyone's got a favorite actor. So it is what it is. But you know what? I'm gonna end the episode here. I'm so glad I made this episode, and it's good to be back and good to be talking about my passions again. And I do have another episode notes already written, so I did prepare myself on that. So hopefully it won't be much of a longer wait for the next episode after this. um, but yeah, it's I feel safe in this space talking about my passions. I could really just talk all day about these things, and it's beautiful. And look, in the time off, I've watched a lot of movies, and well, I got a letterbox. Which follow me on letterbox. I'll put the links in the description and all that. You can see my logs of what I've been up to. I've been busy. Haven't watched much movies recently. Been playing more games now, getting into it again, playing some inFamous a little bit here and there. But yeah, no, I've definitely got some conversation pieces to talk about on this episode, on this podcast. Sorry, in particular with movies. So there might be some more movie episodes in that part. I'll still mix it up, and I still like to, but I think movies might be the go for me because I'm very passionate about movies and video games and just pop culture in general. Sort of why I made this podcast. um, but I will leave with one question for the audience. If there is any questions that I would like answered, well, not like answered, but I think something to ponder on. If you were to able to absorb one of Delson's powers in real life, which one would you pick? Ponder on that. Smoke, neon, TV, or concrete. I mean, concrete might be cool in real life, sure. I'd like smoke. That's what I'd pick. I'd pick smoke. I don't know if I'd be as good as Delson with it. I don't know about the same Delson flair to the smoke powers, but it'd be cool. It'd be very cool. And maybe I can also suck people's cigarettes when they're smoking. Go, hey, smoking's bad for you. I know. Right. But anyway, thank you all for listening to this podcast. I hope you all have a wonderful night or day wherever and whenever you're watching this. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next episode. Ta-ta.